I remember the early mornings in London, when the gentle sunlight filtered through each small street, carrying with it the breath of this modern city. I am Kwame, a 14-year-old black boy growing up in the heart of this vibrant capital city. With every step I take, I carry a sense of pride in my roots and family values passed down from generation to generation. From a young age, I felt that London was not only a bustling place of skyscrapers, but also a warm space where people share joys, sorrows, and simple dreams of life. I live with my parents and grandmother in a small, cozy house in a multicultural neighborhood. Every day when I leave home, I am greeted by the friendly smiles of my neighbors, bustling voices on the street, and the aroma of typical dishes from everywhere. It is these simple things that have taught me to appreciate every moment of life. Walking on the streets of London, I feel the smell of freshly brewed coffee, the sound of cars passing by, and even the everyday stories shared sincerely. That's where I find solace and feel the power of human love. I always tell myself that life is not just about success or material wealth, but also about how we connect, love, and support each other. My parents always taught that, no matter how many difficulties we face, as long as we hold on to love and faith, everything will get better. The teachings of my parents and the stories my grandmother told me about the old days planted in me the seeds of perseverance and sharing. I learned that every small action can spread hope, making life more meaningful. I still remember that moment as clearly as if it happened yesterday. It was a normal afternoon when I was sitting in class, absorbing every word of the teacher. My mind suddenly sank into a blurry space, as if time slowed down and everything around me became strange. Before I realized it, I felt a shock so strong that my whole body trembled, my heart beat erratically, and my breathing became difficult. I didn't know what was happening. I only knew that in that moment, there was some force that seemed to pull me away from familiar reality. When I opened my eyes, I found myself lying on a hospital bed in a cold room of a London hospital. However, what was strange wasn't just where I was, but it felt like I was no longer completely connected to my body. I remember it was as if I was seeing myself from above, like an outsider, witnessing every single movement of my body. I saw an image of myself lying there, motionless, but filled with extraordinary peace. Even though outside there were the gasps of the doctor and the urgent footsteps of the nurse, inside I felt like everything was calming down, as if I was falling into a dream that I didn't want to wake up from. In that state, I felt a lightness spread throughout my body. It wasn't fear or panic, but a feeling of peace, as if a warm energy was embracing me. I heard gentle whispers, as if someone was calling my name from a faraway place. Gentle words that I couldn't fully understand, but made my heart beat with each beat of love. At one point, I heard the words, "My story is not over yet." And it felt like a reminder that even though I was going through harsh trials, there was always a light source out there to guide me. I no longer feel pain. Instead, I felt like I was being supported, gently drifting along the flow of a calm river. Everything around gradually became dim, leaving only a shimmering tunnel of light opening ahead. I felt myself being pulled away, not knowing where the destination was, but feeling a strong belief that that place was the starting point of a new journey. That tunnel was unlike anything I had ever seen. It is like a door opening to another world where everything becomes gentle, pure, and full of promise. When I passed through that door of light, I felt a magical transformation within my soul. Time seems to have lost its meaning. I no longer measure by clocks or minutes, left only with the natural flow of enchanting moments. Beside me, whispering sounds rang out, not curses or screams, but gentle invitations, like my mother's lullabies, making me feel safe and loved. In that moment, all thoughts and worries seemed to disappear. I realized that a new strength was sprouting inside me, the power of faith, courage, and love. I felt like I was connected to a divine source of energy, something that transcended the limitations of the physical body. And then, as the light around me grew brighter and brighter, I began to realize that I was no longer alone. Gradually, the image of a person gradually appeared before my eyes. At first, that person was just a blurry figure, but gradually it became clearer and clearer. I felt the presence of a truly sacred person, someone who carried both love and authority. It is not an image of a stranger, but the image of someone who has always been by my side, guiding me through the darkest times. In that moment, I realized that that person was Jesus, whom I only knew through stories and images and ceremonies, but now, he existed fully before my eyes. I felt no fear, although the light from him was so bright that I had to close my eyes for a few seconds. When I opened my eyes, I saw that light as gentle as morning dew, warm and full of love. He smiled at me, a gentle smile like a mother's gentle lullaby, and in his voice I heard the comfort of the entire universe. He told me that I was chosen, that the experiences I had just gone through were not a coincidence, but part of a grand plan he had for me. Those words seemed to soothe all the fatigue and all the worries of my soul. He told me that no matter how many challenges life takes us through, there is always light to guide us and faith to help us stand up. He told me about the visions he wanted me to convey to everyone, visions of a world that can be transformed through love, through forgiveness and solidarity. In his eyes, I see the firm belief that no matter how many difficulties there are now, the future is always open with new hope and opportunities. As he spoke, I felt my heart being open, the icy layers of sadness, loss, and disappointment gradually melting under the light of love and kindness. I began to remember moments in my life, times when I felt alone, moments when it seemed like there was no way out. But now, in his words, I see that everything is never completely lost, that in every challenge there is an opportunity for us to learn and grow. He told me about visions of the future, visions that I had never imagined, but that had the power to change lives. I saw images of storms, floods, and burning forests, but at the same time were also images of communities gathering together, of sharing hands, of smiles and eyes full of faith. He said that these scenes are not meant to frighten us, but to remind us of the power of love and kindness. Every disaster, every difficulty is an opportunity for us to realize that no matter how much the world changes, we can still create miracles together. In that moment, I felt like I was receiving strength from an invisible source. Every word he spoke was like an antidote to the pain and hurt inside me. He taught me how to look at life in a different way, not just as challenges, but also as opportunities for us to reveal our bravery, for us to discover our ability to overcome all adversities. He said that faith is not something distant or abstract, but something that can touch each person's heart through small everyday actions. From a smile, from a handshake, or from a sincere word of encouragement, those teachings penetrated my soul gently but deeply. I realized that within every person there exists a magical power, a power that can transform not only one's own life, but also the lives of those around. And I understand that my mission now is not only to survive my ordeal, but also to become the bearer of that message, the message of hope, of love, and of faith in the future. While I was still immersed in that light, I felt a great comfort from him. I don't need advice or complicated instructions. Just know that no matter how difficult life is, as long as we open our hearts, listen, and accept, there is always a source of light to guide us. I remember difficult times before, when I felt lost and tired, and now, with his teachings, I know that I am never alone. In every step, in every breath, love is always present, waiting to be shared. I felt like my heart was lifted, as if all the broken pieces of the past were gathered into a complete picture, brilliant and full of life. He told me that whenever I feel tired or disappointed, remember that I can always return to that source of energy, the energy of faith and love. I was taught that no challenge is too big, as long as we know how to find each other, know how to share together and rise together. Those moments passed like eternity. I no longer feel pain, no longer feel fear, only trust and love spread throughout my soul. Even when the light begins to fade, I know that what he taught will forever be imprinted in me, like a light that never goes out. I promise myself that when I return to daily life, I will bring with me everything I have learned, to spread, to share, to help those who need to regain faith in life. I clearly remember the feeling when I woke up, when the throbbing pain gradually faded, and the light of life slowly filled everything around me. I opened my eyes in a familiar London hospital room, where morning light filtered through the window, bringing with it the warmth of a new day. My family, friends, and people around me all rushed around the hospital bed, their eyes filled with worry mixed with joy when they saw me alive again. That feeling was so magical, as if everything that had just been was just a fragile dream. And now I was given a second chance to live and spread the message of faith and love. From the first minutes, I clearly felt the change inside me. I am no longer the weak, obscure boy I was before. That revival gave me new strength, a source of energy full of faith and determination. I know that my mission is not only to live for myself, but also to become a bridge and bearer of a message of hope and healing for the community. From that moment, I vowed that I would never keep what I had been through secret, but would share it with everyone, so that they too could find light even in the darkest times. Days later, when I walked out of the hospital, I felt a clear change not only in myself, but also in the surrounding community. My family, friends, teachers, and neighbors all showed concern and love, and slowly, change began to spread. I started sharing my story through informal encounters, through conversations at home, at school, and even through short conversations on the street. I told everyone about the moment I felt the divine energy, about the journey through the light and the divine teachings, which helped me understand that no matter how difficult life is, as long as we open our hearts and believe in love, miracles can always happen. I remember one time, at a community meeting in the neighborhood, I stood in the crowd and shared my story. I talk about those unforgettable moments when I felt comforted by a divine light, when I was guided through the door of faith and hope. I talk about the feeling of lightness as my heart gradually calms, as the whispers of the divine resonate, reminding me that we are never alone on this journey. My shared words not only warm the hearts of listeners, but also inspire in them the belief that each person can overcome difficulties. Each of us can find light even in the darkest moments. Soon, my story spread throughout the neighborhood, reaching the hands of people who felt tired and discouraged by life. I see that small stories about love, sharing, and trust have begun to spark hope in people who once quietly endured loneliness. An old neighbor, usually quiet, suddenly laughed and talked loudly when he heard my story. A single mother, who was mired in difficulties, found the motivation to continue taking care of her children after listening to my sharing. Even young people, who often complain about the pressure of studying and the future, are starting to open their hearts and come to each other to build a community of love, sharing, and sympathy. I realized that my message was not just a narrative of a personal experience, but also a reminder of the value of connection. Every time I meet someone who is sad, I listen to their story, sharing with them the belief that even though there are storms, the light of love and faith can always light our way. I often tell them that every smile, every small gesture of care can create miracles. When we open our hearts and are not afraid to share, we not only help ourselves overcome difficulties, but also help others find lost joy and hope. I also realize that the spread of the message does not come from flowery words or long lectures, but from simple and practical actions in everyday life. I began participating in community activities, working with volunteer groups to organize exchanges and classes to share faith and love. Together, we clean public areas, organize meetings for the elderly, and even small seminars where people can exchange, share, and find faith in themselves. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to creating a cohesive community where everyone feels cared for and loved. Now, when I look back at the journey I have traveled, I feel filled with gratitude, grateful for having the opportunity to live again, grateful for experiencing and learning from those sacred moments. I'm also grateful to be able to share my story with everyone, to help those who are looking for light amid the storms of life. Every time I remember those moments, I feel warm inside, as if the whole world is gently embracing me with an extremely loving embrace. I hope that my story will be a small but sincere inspiration for everyone. Believe that even if life takes us through difficult times, there is always a source of divine energy, always love ready to help us stand up and move forward. Open your heart, share and believe that within each of us, there is the power to create miracles. That is not only the promise of a boy who has experienced near-death moments, but also the commitment of everyone who believes in love, faith, and the power of community. With all that faith, I promise myself that I will continue to live, will continue to spread the message of hope and love, so that every passing day is a journey of healing and miracles. I believe that when we walk together on the path of love, nothing is impossible, that the light of faith will always guide us to a future filled with happiness and warmth. And that is exactly what I want to convey to all of you who are listening to my story today.